every day.
Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Second Lap. It's Gramps, your host. We are currently at 38,845 miles for those that are paying attention and keeping track. It just seems like I've had this not really acceleration, but it feels like it's continued to the pace has increased, and I think some of that's just the heat and the season and where we are in the year. We've been off live for the last I think 2 weeks. We had a team meeting I talked about in one of my posts, and we really wanted to redefine sort of our mission is to bring you insightful and necessary guests that will help us to bring lessons, hacks, and tips for living a better life and goals. Optimizing your life, I believe, is how Ronnie helped me to put that together. But with that, we're bringing on a friend and a fellow tweak, Nick, or otherwise known as Chum Wizard. Please bring on the guest.
Hey, Robbie, how you doing today?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you. You're there. You've always been there,
here.
but now you're there. I'm usually walking. So just to kick off, if you've watched any shows in the past, I did this on purpose. 2 weeks ago, I did a show with a good friend of mine, and I believe I tested the limits of Apple, the heat from the sun, and the operating system. It started to drop off, and then the application crashed, and then literally I got this screen that said it's too warm to use. You can dial 911, and I felt helpless. Nick, Chum, I'm calling you Chum. Sorry, we do
Either way.
hours a week together. We it made me feel helpless because I had these other two humans at the other end of the string. The string had been severed. I didn't have a refrigerator because I was out in the middle of the heat in the day, and I had to wait 10 minutes for my phone to cool back off immediately. So I'm making up for that panic attack to where I'm indoors. I have no shoes on, which is very rare for these podcasts. And I wanted to be able to highlight, and it was behind me, but we got more intimate so that we could make editing and this conversation a little bit easier with Opus Clip, not giving all Ronnie's secrets away. But I wanted you to come on. We met through the tweaks. You're an artist. We share a lot of things in common, and we spend hours a week on spaces. So we're not usually on video. So that's going to be the only thing that's a little different. You'll get to see me. I'll try not to pick my nose or do anything that's,
Right.
not allowed. But, I was going to say Johnny Cash is behind me, giving the bird. That's probably the worst, thing that we'll talk about. But yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, we talk all the time, but we never actually have the video call. So this is fun. We've been doing the whatnot too. So, but yeah, I'm glad to be here.
It's good to have you. I wanted to talk about a few things. So I'm in the spirit of sort of now, hey, we've got some of these goals and things that we want to, sort of focus in on. You and I met through the tweaks. We've been doing weekly spaces and having conversations with people. I think that, in real life and in these kind of things where people connect and talk is really, something that I think is very important. The first thing that I had on my notes that I wanted to talk to you about, and that's why I actually brought this up and I started talking about is you have a art collection. You're an artist, and I believe it's called Outside the Box.
Yeah, so the series I'm working on right now is Live Outside the Box. Yeah.
Live Outside the Box. I want to make sure I forgot. I knew I forgot one word. Damn it. So Live Outside the Box. Can you talk about that? I was prepping Ronnie where I was like, hey, he and I had a conversation and he said the American dream is dead. And Ronnie had a very similar reaction to the reaction that I had. I'm like, no. Let's let him talk about it. So Live Outside the Box. That the inspiration is
Yeah, so live outside the box actually comes from the common phrase "think outside the box." But the more I really thought about it and just like how we go about, building a career these days and trying to, start a family, even simple things like buying a house. I live here in California, and it's near impossible, to actually be able to afford a house and have a family and still work, a regular 9 to 5 job,
Right.
without, having to go and pick up a second job, or, your spouse is working too. So, for me, the idea of the American dream, you go, you work your 9 to 5, you come home, and you can afford to have the family with the white picket fence. That's it's done. It's over. At least for my generation, we kind of watched that disappear. It used to be you could go to college, and you could get that good job from college, and you would be good. But it's not even guaranteed that you can get the job anymore, because you're competing with people that have been in the whatever industry you're in for who knows how long. The entry level job now requires you to have like 5 years of experience. It's
Right.
supposed to be entry level.
Right.
But yeah, so the idea with the live outside the box is to find new ways to thrive, where we really are not having those ways. So it could be anything from taking on a second job, doing these things like Uber and oh, I forget what the other ones are, but there are other options that you can do to supplement your income. But
Right.
it's about figuring out like, well, what are you gonna do? And so I developed this series, with a thought of just as I go through my own life, reflecting on what I've learned, what I'm attempting to try, and just connecting with the people that are struggling as well to make their way through this post-American dream world. Because as great as it is that we still have those opportunities here, um, the reality is that it looks very different than the roadmap that has been laid out for us since, I don't know, I guess since the conception of our country. Like
Right.
it's not the same pull yourself up by your bootstraps anymore. It's a whole different ball game.
I hear that, and I think when I immediately, started pushing back, it's like, well, hey, I'm doing a lot of that. I'm considerably older, so I do put that into perspective. Um, and I think we started talking about earlier. It just there's a lot of things that I believe I hear you and I acknowledge, and I look to Gary Vee as an example. We talk about that. We met through
Mhm.
Web3, and he talks about um, the hustle, the garage sale. He does the whole set of kids on social media that know him as the garage sale guy, and flipping
Mhm.
things that he buys and things that way. And I've tried myself, and I think I see it in you as well. But I've tried myself to sort of, is there a side hustle that I could get into like that? Is there something I could do? Is there a way, to monetize? And monetizing, what we do appears to be currently the hardest thing. And I don't know, I'm throwing it out there like, hey, if there's somebody that's a dev or somebody that's got ideas on how to do this better, having conversations, spending time with other people, performing what I almost call group. I mean, that's what I look at what you and I are doing. I mean, we do have some goals of maybe some topics from time to time, or hey, we've got a segment here where we're trying to educate on traits and things like that. But at the end of the day, we're bringing people together and just trying to guide a conversation. I mean, at least
Mhm.
that's how I feel. Do you feel we're doing something similar?
Yeah, I feel, especially with us being tweaks, it's great to have a place where, especially during our spaces on like Tuesdays and Fridays, where we can just get together and, kind of chat. Sometimes there's some great stuff that we can bring up and talk. Sometimes it's fun to just have the conversations. Like, we tease Delta all the time about his different variety of things that he likes
Right,
to
right,
eat compared to everyone else. But it's those are fun conversations, and I think a lot of that is missing from just normal everyday society. Like, we have that almost like through high school, maybe some into college, depending on like what you do. But then
right.
outside of that, it's like it kind of just drops off. I remember you were talking in a previous podcast about, making friends as an adult. And I think that's one of the fun things about us being tweaks is like we genuinely get to have fun and build a friendship with each other, without the worry of like, oh, there's some other agenda. No, we're just here to hang out and really get
Right.
to learn and grow together.
Right. Yeah, I like that. There is no expectations. Um, we sort of are willing and open to having most people come up on the stage. I use I use the word most because I'm leading the witness here.
Hmm.
I struggle. I struggle from time to time with managing personalities.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I don't know that we've talked about it. Sometimes it feels like we've both had the hit the button and time out and put people, so we quiet down and you sort of set that. And I feel like that's the parent kind of coming out of me, and I've
Hmm.
seen you use it as well. I- I'm almost to the point where I feel like I want to see if I can connect with a couple of people one on one, verbally, out loud, have a conversation. I won't. They'll remain nameless for this podcast because we are streaming live.
Hmm.
But I would like to have a conversation just to say, hey, I love you. I love having your presence there. It is more positive than negative. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Hmm.
I need to steer you back to self observance, knowing yourself, whatever that right term is, that you self awareness,
Hmm.
self aware hair, I think is Gary's. If I'm going to bring V friends in, so I keep sprinkling that in.
Yep.
Self aware hair. Hey, you're not totally self aware of when your voice is engaged and when somebody else is actually either still talking or what. And I need you to either put your hand up, like I've got to figure out a way to rein them in. And the hand is the only thing that I think I've been able to come up with. Have you mentally worked through this?
Considering our last encounter, which was quite pleasant from what I saw. I wasn't there the entire time, but I think it's kind of there. But it's another thing about us being tweaks. Everybody has their own little quirks, and it helps if as a group, especially when we're in a group setting, and it's like, okay,
Right.
we want everybody to be able to talk. Just being able to pull each other aside and be like, hey, this is what's going on, this is why it's the case. I feel like amongst us that should never be anything that we shy away from, especially because like we love having everybody there, right? We love being
Right.
able to share and converse and bring up a wide variety of topics. But it's important for us to be able to have everybody have their chance to speak, because I know we have tons of people that English is their second language.
Sure.
So forget trying to fight with anybody else. Just trying to in their own head get their words out properly is hard enough. So yeah, just I think us being able to be open and have those conversations with each other is what makes it unique, because you step in most spaces and they'll just you're out, like
Yeah.
that'll be the
Uh,
end of it. But we don't want to do that. We want to have the fun.
I've
And
I've watched the trapdoor mentality of just, hey, he's now a listener. And I just feel that's almost cliquish. We're the cool kids. You're not cool. I feel like that's why I'm talking to you. Because I don't think any of us are better at being cool, if that's the word
Mhm.
I'm going to use. I just think some of us are more conscious. And then, like, even now, I've kind of interrupted you a couple of times, so I'm going to apologize. I'm not doing it on purpose, but I'm trying to actually say that what I'm trying to do with our session here and what I'm trying to do when we do our weekly thing is I'm trying to get people to be able to have conversations again.
Mhm.
As opposed to, I'll put this out there, if you attend a lot of spaces, which we do, if you step back and you start looking at it, most people, and I don't know, I don't fault any of them. I don't judge them. My observance is most people will talk, like certain people, until they're stopped. Like it's almost like they're afraid they're not going to get heard,
Mhm.
or someone's going to cut them off and they won't be able to get it out, and so they just talk. And they don't even breathe. Like you're waiting, because I'm a sales guy and I wait for it. And I listen for the Like it's just something that gives me an indication that I can jump in. Sorry, I didn't mean to get too close to the camera, but I want to do that so that we can back and forth have a conversation as opposed to a collection of monologues.
Yeah, a lot of people they don't stop and wait and listen to what other people have to say. They're just listening to the next time they can open their mouth. I think we've been really good about like having, unless and if we're like really joking and ribbing with each other. I think
Right.
we've gotten a pretty good rhythm though of like, okay, we bring something up, we talk about it, we allow people to do the back and forth. We're looking for the hands. Um, and really giving I think pretty much everybody understands like when they come and they hang out with the tweaks, like it is an open platform. We do want to hear from you. It might take a moment as we get through the
Right.
topics, because obviously certain people are very polarizing. They want to say what they have to say. um but I think more than anything, as we continue to just like have conversations both between us and then on the spaces too, if we even just bring it up like, hey, we would love to have everybody up here, but we're going to try and do our best so that everybody has their chance to speak. I think just, being that example is probably the strongest thing that we can do. Because I don't know about you, but me, most of the time we roll in the space. I don't really have to do too much other than, oh, I see there's a new person here. Let's make sure we say hi to them. Because everybody else is pretty good about like, oh, I got something to say. Let me throw my hand up or let me unmic.
I I find if we're going to digress into the most difficult part of the space, I find that if it's somebody that puts their hand up and none of us are connected to them, I have a mini panic attack because I've been on the spaces where somebody starts yelling turd or something, that's
Mhm.
just disrupting to be disrupting. And so I'm looking for that. I'm looking and I'm kind of doing sort of a mini background check, but the space is still going on. And I'm
Mhm.
still like concerned, like, okay, my hot mic and, there's still a whole bunch of things going on, but the mini investigation. And then I have to, in some cases, I will follow them just so that, I can have the chat open and all that. But I have had it go the wrong way where they're not somebody that I need to follow. And I don't want to have, when you follow somebody, you're almost validating that they're good. That's the way it's
Mhm.
implied.
Mhm.
And, we've had people that have had tweak PFPs and they've been bad people that have done bad things. And it's like, okay, now there's an association, and just as an example. And so I don't ever want that to happen. I always want everything to be copacetic. So
Yeah, the other side of that too is it's the internet. We can't control everybody, but at least if somebody sees a tweet PFP, they know they can come talk to those of us that are tweaks and be like, "Hey, is this person good? Are we good with them?"
right.
And for the most part, it's pretty hard to hide that fact because, I mean, between you, me, and Danky, like we're gonna go through and be like, I don't know them, I know them. Same thing with Luigi. Luigi's always around, always looking for people too.
Right.
And I think for the most part, the bad actors have kind of figured out like, oh, like probably not the group to try and target because they all kind of know each other, which is nice. And I see the same thing with VFriends too. It's about actually talking
Right.
amongst your community members, not just, oh, I bought in this thing, great, and that's the end of it. No, like actually like get together and have a good time and really discuss what you enjoy about these things. And for anybody that's looking at some point to ever get involved with this sort of stuff, it's not just you have to be in this one group. No, a lot of these
Right.
groups, like we, especially tweaks, we're good about joining other groups and being part of other discussions instead of just like siloed off to just ourselves.
Yeah, I think there's a balance in there. I think I went after being in a lot of different groups as a way to make noise about the main organization. I found trying to be aware, be involved, and be of any value at all with 80 plus communities was uh, like just irresponsible. And so I've slowly sort of backed out. We have a certain bandwidth as humans. I mean, all the different things they
Mhm.
talk about, groups of larger than 150, all those, kind of rules of thumb really are true.
Mhm.
And uh and yes, I think we have done a good job of kind of spreading out, making, ourselves cautious and aware, and then also making others aware of us. And then I think I've sort of been sort of contracting back and trying to be more focused, because you just do have just only so many hours in the day. And I think we have done a good job of not feeling like we're like paddling anything. Like, I think it's actually more the opposite, like
Mhm.
with, and we haven't even talked about it, your digital magazine running, Tweak Zine, and the awareness campaign for small artists, and how do people get found, and all that. I don't know if you wanted to maybe give a quick blurb on that before we talked a little bit more.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Tweet Magazine, we've been doing it for a
A
year and a
year.
month now. A year and a month now. But we release an issue every week, and it's just our way of showcasing the artists that are creating across the different blockchains. We don't showcase any particular one, but we are focused on the crypto art side of things. We enjoy the physical art too.
Right.
We absolutely, I personally work in physicals. Gramps has a ton of physicals. See, he's got mine right there. But we created this magazine specifically so that it was easier for people to find these artists, because when you go on the platforms, there's just so much going on, and you're getting it left, right, and center. And some of it's art, some of it, is PFP projects, some of it is, just tokens.
Right.
So I personally was wanting the artists that have been, they spend so much time working on stuff, and then what happens? You throw it on Instagram or you throw it on X, and then it just dies on the timeline, and people don't see it again. They don't have any way to
Right.
reference back to it if they don't scroll through your entire profile.
Right.
So yeah, the point was to have almost like a table reader sort of book for people to discover these artists that are actually out here, grinding away to themselves, and not, maybe they don't have as big a splash, but they're still creating. So it was a way for people to be able to find these artists without having to go through the hassle of digging through everything else.
Right. We're streaming live on X currently, and Tweak Zine is the X for the magazine, and people can reach out to you that way. I'm only bringing that up directly because I think you had said we are doing a physical, and if people wanted to reach out to you to grab a physical, I believe that's the best way for them to do that. Is there a better way?
Right now, that's the best way. Once we have that fully up and running, I'm gonna have that on the site too, so people be able to order it straight from there. Um, just so they have a secondary option. But yeah, it'll,
Yeah.
reaching me on X is usually the best way. Or chumwizards at gmail.com. That's open too. I'm
Okay.
always open to the emails, because sometimes people, like, they don't want to go the social route. They want to just go straight email.
I have so many emails. Like, it's amazing. The older you get, how many people, and you're signed up and you have to put things in there. And I actually I have an alternative email that I don't even give people that I
Hmm.
use for certain things. And then you're like balancing this thing where you're like, I was just chasing. But chumwizards at Gmail, good for them to know. Tweak Zine on X is the handle. And I brought it up as because there's going to be a physical, and you'll have the ability to have a coffee table version of the magazine. And people, if you're into this, and it's something that I think X copy, Beeple, I'm trying to think of the big names of the, normies would know. Um, who's the guy that spray paints the red? Banksy?
Yep.
Yeah,
Banksy.
those kind of
Um,
things.
Marlon Pruntz is probably a big one that a lot of people might know. He's been making quite a huge splash both on IG and X, out in the real world doing his thing. Jack Butcher. Um, I'm sure a lot of people know Mendez too.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
so there's a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, so as you're looking to explore digital art, this would be a good way to have, as I said, a coffee table version to look at it, as well as you can get the digital copy. And if you're, I think it's, I've used it on my phone. It's phone mobile friendly. Sometimes you got to squeeze it down a little bit, but it gives you a chance and an opportunity to see what people are doing. And it's, I think it's the next wave. It's been here for a while. It's, swelling. I think there are all sorts of reasons that we could, take a whole nother show to talk about, sort of where the negativity for, either cryptography or, some of the things that the scam people and the ups and downs and volatility. They make the memes and the jokes about Christmas and don't bring up crypto to your family and things like that. So I say all that in, it is, it's awesome. Like, it's
Mhm.
fractionalization of art. It's these terms and these things that a lot of people I don't think understand yet. And you're doing a service by making people's art available, and I applaud you for that. Um, Anything that you were thinking that when I sprung this on you that I was going to bring up and talk about? Anything that you wanted to talk
Yeah,
about?
well, I assumed we were going to be talking about the tweaks. Outside of that, I'm kind of an open book. You're very familiar with my art. With the Tweak magazine, the big thing that I think a lot of people don't realize at this point is that we have past the point of things just being the traditional sense of like it's just on the wall. In fact, if you look at most walls these days, if there's something on it, usually it's a digital thing.
Right,
We very rarely still have like physical stuff anymore. Even look at walk through the mall and look at what's in the windows. Like, yeah, you might still have your mannequins, but oftentimes you have digital screens and stuff there as
right.
well. You go to a train station, digital screens everywhere you go, digital
Airport,
billboards, yeah, the digital ad spaces all over the place. So when things are so digitized in this day and age, you can do that even in your own home. If you were to buy a canvas, like, great, you have a canvas, looks really nice, cool, takes up whatever space it takes up, but then that's it. Like, that space is completely used up and it cannot be used for anything else. Whereas if you
right,
had a digital canvas, now you can change the mood. You want a more happy mood, or you're having like a birthday party or something, you can have a different image up there as opposed to the single physical. And that's nothing
right.
against physicals. Again, it's just the advantage that the digital has. But when we start talking about the scamming side of things, that was the internet from the beginning. I mean, people are still
Right,
getting calls on their phone talking about, oh, you owe this and that from the IRS, but if you go down and get your gift cards from Target, we'll take
right,
care of that for you. So
right,
there's people are going to be trying to scam left, right, and center. That's the way of the world. It does, fortunately, though, become a lot easier to track where your money is going and where it's coming from, using crypto. But
right.
that can be an argument that we could have as a whole separate topic. I think the big thing that I want people to realize, though, is like there are a ton of artists out here. So whatever your flavor is, it's really it's easy to find them if you're willing to take the time, and if you're not, check out Tweak magazine, because that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I was going to say you've shortcutted for them that process and can show things. And I'm now familiar with glitch art. I'm familiar with, this is a physical, but I own the digital as well, and the digital is glitch art.
Hmm.
It moves, so it's almost, I don't know. When you started talking about that, I'm like, man, it's almost like the best of all worlds, because I have something that it's not framed yet. That's why it's not on the wall. Um, and I've got 8 pieces now that are in line for framing, and that's a whole nother thing.
Hmm.
Like you said, though, because then all of them will take up a space that I won't have usable for other places. The biggest places I think people could see sort of an example of this is, I use Apple TV, and my Apple
Hmm.
TV, when it goes into hibernation, Apple has all these images that it puts up and does these screensavers on, my 42-inch TV, and it's like digital art. Like, it's already
Hmm.
there. Like, we've got it, and it's just like we're I don't know. Are we a USB away from moving the art over? Is there a network setting? Is there a box? Something is going to make it so instead of Apple, Chum Wizard's art is going to, because I own it, or Mendez, as you said, it's going to show up on my TV, and I'm going to have that as current for sort of the baby step to the secret is when Johnny Cash behind me, when you've got a screen that size, that's thin, that's affordable. Like I've
Mhm.
talked to some people, and those can be pretty pricey still, unless you're going
Yeah.
to a screen, a TV, and then it's kind of burn the screen, and we
Mhm.
could techno geek out. But I don't know. I think we're very close.
Yeah, I think right now the biggest thing, especially with all the unrest that's been going on around, it's been kind of hard to for these production companies to get the materials to really build out on that. But yeah, I would assume because I've even seen things like they fit on backpacks, like they're like kind of flexible
Right.
LED screens that like go on backpacks. I'm like, now how cool is that? You want to talk about like, oh, I want to be my own personal billboard for what I'm doing, like grab you a backpack and have your art on that.
Right.
I haven't seen anybody else do that, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, I think as far as like the tech side of it, it's just about there being enough demand for them to figure out how to make these cheaper. And then once that happens, it's kind of game over. But you have countries like Japan where they're already doing stuff like this because there's more demand there.
Right.
Here in the U.S., we're still good throwing away and having paper all over the place, but we'll get there eventually.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, if you go back and you look like at Fahrenheit 451,
Hmm.
that book was written before my parents, who are in their 70s, were born.
Hmm.
And the main character is having FaceTime Zoom calls on digital walls
Hmm.
with their family, and they're using the crickets, as I think they call them, but AirPods in their ears. I mean, we're
Yep.
79 years later, and it's like, as you said, I think I would like to believe that we're going to have a digital wall, because, as like you said, it's going to be a material, and they're going to be like, spread that shit out, put there, and put your earbuds in and talk to your family. Like,
Hmm.
art will show up. You'll be able to drag them around, and it'll be like, I'm gonna date myself, but you used to be able to move your tiles around on your phone
Hmm.
screen when you had like an app, or Microsoft, I think, was the last time I remember
Yeah,
doing this.
Microsoft Tiles. Yep.
But yeah, but you can move the tiles around, you could do things, and I foresee a wall that you'll have, different art on, and then you'll be able to tap it, and your grandkid or your kid or your wife or whoever comes up on screen, and you're talking to them, and you're, having kind of a Zoom share. I don't know. I like feel like we're just almost there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and especially if you're talking about something like gallery setting, where the Palo Alto was great because the whole wall was a screen, like
Oh
so it
wow.
was just all art on one side. Like obviously there was like some divisions. It was divided into four:
Okay.
entrance, middle. Yeah, four. It was divided into four parts. But on that entrance part, when you walked in, it was just solid wall of video, and I'm like, now this is what I'm looking for when we're talking,
Right.
showcasing digital art. Um, Between that and projectors, they're constantly getting better and smaller and smaller. In fact, now I don't even have an actual like regular TV. I have a projector.
Okay.
Projector with a fire stick. I didn't need the TV. And then when that burns out, you get another one. You spend like 60 something bucks and you're good. And I can make it way bigger than any TV. So yeah, the technology for what we choose to do, and how we want to display things, I think that is just constantly going to be continuing to adapt. And when we start talking about not wanting to use screens and have some other way of displaying our stuff because we want to, when the TV is off, you still want to be able to like use that space.
Right.
Um, that was the whole point of us going to the flat screen TVs because we had those big huge boxes before that you had to have like a whole furniture set just to
Three people to
store those.
move. Yeah.
Yep. If you're lucky, three, you might need
Yeah.
four, considering you get those bigger ones. It's like Johnny's not strong enough to carry that by
Right.
himself.
I hear you. I hear you. I have wanted to change gears. I think we have a few minutes here. We both are going through a phase or a season where we're seeking employment. We're both going, we're talking about it. It's what's given us. I'm going to be grateful and say I'm grateful for all the time we've had to spend together and be on spaces and sharing time with others and my family. I mean, just the time has
Mhm.
been beautiful. And I did a post about this a couple days ago. I've struggled a little bit lately, just at the duration. Like it's a it's a struggle to look at myself in the mirror and not feel like, what the hell's going on? Like, why are you why are you still here? Um, I've even broken it down to, it's been a long time since I've been in the market. And in the market, we used to go to an office and you would meet with a whole bunch of people and they would make a decision in a couple of days, if not hours. And now, because everybody's everywhere, it's like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and that's a fast time to get just through the process. So I'm leading the witness. How are you dealing with the mental health side? How are you dealing with the, damn it, like, I feel like shit. Like, how do you deal with that?
So yeah, on the dealing with it side, I think the biggest thing for me is, when I look at like what's going on, it'd be something different if like I was sitting around doing nothing, right? Like
Right.
then I would really beat myself up. But at the same time, I'm still doing the art, doing the magazine every week. We have the spaces, so we're still building things. And those are the things that when I really look at my life and I say, okay, what do I want to be doing? Like, how do I want to be spending my time? Like, what we've been doing, that's what I want to do. I want to be going to these shows and talking about these artists and talking with these artists. And that's where, I want to live my life, art 24/7. Well, outside of my family, right? But
Right.
like that's what I want to do. So as I'm like doing the steps to get there and I'm still thinking like I still need to be able to pay the bills every month. um I have to give myself that grace that I'm not just sitting around, because it's so easy when you're out of work to fall into that depression of,
Right.
oh, woe is me, nothing's going right, like my life is over, and then you just don't do anything. Whereas like I think the best thing to do is what is the very next best step I can take right now, and just do that. Like yesterday for me, even though we had the space, like I was looking at, I'm like, mentally I'm not there right now. So what's the next best thing for me? And that was to go ahead and go and handle that. And honestly, once I got that done, I actually felt a lot better instead of sitting, in a area or in a space where I'm just, dwelling on all the negatives. Like,
Right.
focus on the positive, move towards the positive. So, and I think that's the biggest thing for anybody. Even if you don't have a job, um, you could be calling, the next people. You could be making a list of who you want to contact or who you want to apply for. You could be finding things around your house that you could sell on Facebook Marketplace or on whatnot. Or, there's any number of little things that you could do that your next best thing might be go take a shower. Like,
Right.
you've been depressed in a funky state and you smell. So go take a shower and change your mental energy just by doing that, because you'll finally feel like, okay, I'm clean physically. Now I can mentally like let go of some of that gunk too, and move on to the next thing. But yeah, I think sometimes we like try and jump too many steps. And so if we just look and are honest with ourselves, like what's the next best thing? Sometimes the next best thing for me is sweep my room, right? Sweep the room
Yep.
so it's nice and clean. There's no dirt or anything, or wives with their hair, right? I all the time. So sometimes it's just simple things like that. And that's what's really kept me going. Um, because when I do start to feel really like bad about myself, I can think about like, okay, what's all the things that I've accomplished recently,
Right.
that I wouldn't have accomplished otherwise if I was working. And it's phenomenal how much has been going on outside of a regular 9 to 5 job. And then, just giving myself the grace to know, like, okay, it's not just me. This
Right.
is it's tough out here for everybody. At least here in the U.S. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but supposedly there's all these jobs. But even then, when you do apply for them, I've been rejected for jobs like McDonald's before. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm not going to school. I got my degree. You're gonna reject me from McDonald's? And you guys have it on
It,
their sign. It said you need somebody.
it's I was gonna say for me, and that was one of my I wrote Dear John. I look at my notes here for the
Hmm.
for the letter. I I find one of the hardest times for me to keep the smile on my face. And then I have to tell myself what I'm saying here. I'll get a rejection letter at 4:45 p.m. on a Friday afternoon from a company, I'm getting forward because I really want to from a company I didn't want to work for. Like I'm saying this out loud. I'm spraying and praying. I'm applying to everybody because that's the job market. That feels like the only way that it works. And then as I hit submit, it says 278 other people have applied for this job this week. And it's like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah. So like whatever. And then I get the rejection letter, as I said, 4:45 on a Friday evening where you're just starting to like, you still want to be happy for the weekend. And you're like, I just got a Dear John letter from somebody that I don't wanted to work for.
Hmm.
And it's making me depressed.
Hmm.
Wake up. What are you doing? Like, this is a form of the matrix where I want to like come out of it and say, hey, like, wow. So
Yep.
anyway, so I'm empathizing with you right now. I'm really feeling connected to you right now because you did make a few words in there that were very pointed in that it's like there's nothing you can do in some cases to be different other than just doing the next right thing. And for me, and I actually already did take a shower. I was going to say it might be to take a shower, even though I've already taken one. I put the hat on because I wanted to wear a clean hat. I usually have I'm out walking outdoors, so I'm wearing my old dirty hat and my whatever. And I got a chance to wear a clean hat. My ADD kicking in. I appreciate you sharing the vulnerability and the tips, the good positive mental perspective. I think your examples always to me felt like you were pulling back to a form of gratitude, which is I think the life hack of all is you
Hmm.
can be really 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 focused on what you don't have, or you can be really really grateful for what you do have. And I really tend to be over here, and I feel that coming out of you, so I'm really glad we had this conversation today. Any last words of wisdom, tips that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I constantly tell everybody to live outside the box. If there's something you really want to do, like it's within you, it doesn't mean you have to make money off it. It could be something that you're doing just for yourself. Um, and don't ever feel like you're limited. I think if I were to say anything to anybody, it's to not be don't feel like you're limited. If you're something you want to do, something you want to pursue, you don't know how to do it. We live in the age of the internet where you can go and you can ask a machine how to help you do something, or you can ask a person because there's people all over the world, and we love sharing what we know and what we're passionate about with each other. So the sky. They always said the sky was the limit. Well, now we finally have a way to start getting ourselves there. So
Right.
take advantage, and that's pretty much where I would say that I like to leave things in my life, um, because things can always be tough. There can always be the downside to it. But if you really just can appreciate what you have, like the little things, the very little things that you have, life can be so much better.
I agree. On that note, I really appreciate you doing this. I hope you will come back. And I think we've shown people how to do it. Chum Wizards, yes. Happy Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Same to you. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, man. See ya.